Oops, I need to make sure I mute this. It's still setting up. Here we go.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Live on Purpose Radio. This is Dr. Paul, the shrink who expands your life, with another episode of Live on Purpose Radio. Joining me today is a dear friend of mine, LeeAnn Webster. I'm going to first give her the credential of being my friend.
Aw.
And then beyond that, she is a speaker, she is a coach, she is a trainer. She is helping people to actually live on purpose on a regular basis out there in her life and in her profession and everything that she's doing. And it's my honor, LeeAnn, to welcome you to the Live on Purpose Radio. Mike, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I'm super excited for our conversation.
I am too. I've been looking forward to this. Just to give our listeners a little bit of context, you and I have gotten to know each other pretty darn well over the last year and a half or so,
Mm-hmm.
as we've both been involved in a program called the Superstar Activator with
Yeah.
none other than Michelle Villalobos, who we both just adore and admire and have benefited so much from her wisdom and her coaching. And as we've gotten to know each other, LeeAnn, I've been drawn to you for a number of reasons. And one of those is that you seem to embody, in my mind, what it means to be fearless over 50. And I didn't even know you were over 50 because, you've got such a youthful, vibrant energy around you. And really 50, I used to think that was old.
Right. Yeah.
Do
Me
you
too.
remember when 50
Yeah.
was old?
Yeah.
And it just isn't anymore,
No.
or it doesn't have to be. I think there's some principles behind that. And you're a really great one to talk about this because I know you've got an event coming up called Fearless Over 50 Forum, where I have the privilege of being one of the guest speakers on that.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. But I just want to give all of the listeners a heads up before your forum. And so if you're listening to this before that first week of December 2024, you can get involved. We'll put a link in the description. Fearless Over 50 is the name of the event, Fearless
Mhm.
Over 50 Forum. And just remember the name of the podcast, Live on Purpose Radio.com/fearless over 50, all one word. And you can get right there to get registered. But LeeAnn, let's go back to why you're so passionate about this. Can you just share with us why this is so important to you?
Yeah. Well, I had this, I turned 55 last year. I'll be 56 in a couple of weeks, actually. Um, and I had this visceral feeling earlier this year that the runway ahead is shorter than the runway behind.
Oh,
And, you know,
yeah, okay. Yeah, let me just recover from that for a
yeah.
sec. I mean, statistically, right? Spoiler alert, nobody gets out of this alive.
Right, right, right.
And there's kind of an expected lifespan for most humans. So
Yeah. And,
we're just kind of
I always
coming to
had
that
in my,
reality.
yeah, I always had in my head that I was going to live to be 100. I still have in my head that I want to live to be 100 because I've always thought in 100
Yeah.
years, you see a lot in 100 years.
Yes.
And that's longer than the average lifespan, but I'm optimistic. But it,
Right.
I think that's why it hit me so much because then when I saw 55, it was like, oh, snap, wait a second. Even if I do live to be 100, which is a very long time, then there's less ahead. And I'm with you with what you said earlier. Like when we were younger, 50 sounded so old. And the people I knew, even in their 50s, they were slowing down and, you know, it just, there was a sense around it. Like you were too
Right.
old to do X and too old to do Y and don't try anything new. And I thought, no, that I get to choose how this plays out. And I'm not going to buy into that. Why would I buy into that? That doesn't serve me at all.
I love the way that you just framed that, LeeAnn, because are you going to buy into it? That is a choice, right?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I when I turned 50, I hired a guitar instructor to teach me how to play a new instrument that I had never played before.
It,
I
love
took
it.
guitar lessons.
Love it.
And part of it was that realization. There were some other reasons that I did it, but this idea of continuing to bring variety and powerful experiences into your life. You're at a phase of your life where you've got a lot of runway behind you.
Mhm.
You've still got some in front of you. How much? We don't know, but you've got some. Now, and
Yeah.
what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
I just love that energy.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's the fear all about?
Well, I think there's a fear that the beauty of being over 50 is you do have all those experiences and those insights and education, and so I feel like there's a part of us often that is very confident, and we're like, I don't care, I don't care as much what anybody thinks. I've learned, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then there's that part of you that might be, your knees might be feeling a little bit different. Your body might look a little different. You might have some gray hairs that you never had before. And so there's an actual physical side to aging that starts to happen. And I think that starts to make us think like, oh, wait a second. If I always had a dream to run a marathon and I have not run 2 steps, am I going to be able to do it? Or if I don't like
Mm-hmm.
the career I'm in and I want to make a change, am I going to be able to do it? I, did I marry the right person? I feel like the 50s is when you start to get in that reflection period. And for a lot of
Yeah.
women, especially, we realize we spent a lot of time on our career and our family and all these other things. And we're kind of now going, wait, what about me?
Mm-hmm. Which, you know what? There's a lot of questions that come up that sometimes aren't really questions. They're statements disguised as questions,
Yes.
right?
Fair
So,
enough.
like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do now? It's a really great question, but sometimes it's not a question. It's a statement disguised as a question. Well, what am I going to do now? Kind of like
Yeah.
there's no chance anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it's a question, it's a really good one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can tell that's triggering some thoughts for you. Where's that taking your brain?
Well, my brain is just thinking. So what I love what you just pulled out is there's such a, it's like the energy behind the question that you're asking, right? And so you can
Yeah.
say the same words, but the energy behind it can change, and that dramatically changes what comes after it. So it's the,
Right.
well, what am I going to do now? Or what am I going to do now? Like, one feels defeated, one doesn't feel energetic and inspiring, one feels like there's not a lot of time left, and the other one feels like, hey, there's possibilities, there's a lot more I could do. So what do I get to choose to do? The lighter version feels like there's more choice in it versus feeling defeated.
Another similar question would be, well, what can you do after 50?
Right.
Versus, so what could you do after 50?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly the same words, totally different energy.
Completely different. And that I find is what's driving us in our lives. I actually like to think of it. I brought one of my toys with me. I like to think of it as the viewfinder. Remember the
Oh,
viewfinder?
yes. I've seen
Let's
this. Yes, I saw you
let's
speak and use this as one of the props.
yeah, and it's the more and more I think about this, the more I lean into it, because I think this is the power. The power is in the disc and in what we're putting it in, because it immediately changes what we see and experience.
That
And
is
so,
so old school right there.
well, we're over 50. We get to be old
I mean,
school,
we
right?
can appreciate it because we're over 50. The Viewmaster. How cool is that? You get to choose. So your point is the little disc, and for those of you who might not be familiar with the Viewmaster, and I know for the audio version of the podcast, we're not even seeing it, but it's
Right.
this device where you put in a disc, and the disc has images which it's designed so that the images match up and create a three-dimensional view in this device. And it's a toy that's been around forever.
Yeah.
But you get to choose. Your point is you get to choose what disc you put in there. What is it that you're looking at? So the way you look at your life right now
Mhm.
is going to determine what kind of an experience you're going to have moving forward.
Exactly. Exactly. So if your disc is, I'm 50, I'm old, I can't do what I used to do, I don't have much time left, I haven't saved enough money, I don't have as much energy. If that's the disc, then that's the experience. But if your disc is, hey, there's still a lot of time left. You know, I've still got plenty of time to try a new instrument. I've always wanted to learn a new instrument. What if I took guitar lessons? What if I learned how to cook? What if I traveled somewhere I've never been? What if I looked at
Mm.
this as like a golden time where I could explore some other things with the wisdom that I've gained over these last 50 some years.
I want to just emphasize what you shared just now. Wisdom, which to me is knowledge combined with experience,
I like
right?
that. I like
So
that.
you
Yeah.
can know something intellectually, but when you experience it, that knowledge gets to be combined with the experience of your life, and that's what creates wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's something that young people, I think there are a lot of young people who are wise in many ways,
Absolutely.
and they're still accumulating experience that you've already got behind you at this point.
Yeah.
So that's so valuable. That's so rich.
Well, it's interesting because, I grew up fast. I was one of those people who had a lot of wisdom early on that maybe not the average person had. And it stems from, I grew up with an alcoholic dad and a bipolar mother. And my brother um, was killed in a car accident when I was 4 and he was 12. So there was a
Oh,
lot that happened really early on in my life that I now realize was beneficial in the sense that I learned a lot of things very early. I learned how to take care of myself very early on. I learned how to be responsible very early on. So I had wisdom, but I didn't have a lot of context.
mm,
And so I didn't know how to apply the wisdom sometimes, or I didn't know not everybody else has this wisdom. And so there's things that you can really only learn over the span of time and experience that helps you to kind of um maybe I'll say like learn how to apply that wisdom or what to do with all that wisdom. And
mhm.
that's where I feel like it gets magical.
Magic. Yes. I know some of our listeners have heard me say it's not magic, it's not luck, it's all principle. But magic, I think that's what happens when principle is applied so skillfully and effectively that it appears indistinguishable from magic,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
And it's not that it's magic that you have to have some kind of special skills to do this. It's magic in that once you know the principles, I mean, check it out. Magic is never magic to the magician
Right, right.
because the magician understands certain principles. And that's what you're inviting us to consider here, LeeAnn, that there are principles that you can tune into that can magically transform your life in ways that you maybe never even anticipated would be possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's really why I created this event because and really what my all my work is about is the idea that you have the power. And so it's like how can you find some tools that you can leverage and execute in your life so that you can take that power and then create what you want instead of saying, you know, it's just the path that I'm on. It's just how things roll.
Yeah. Let's talk about that event for just a minute because you have invited me to be one of the guest speakers
Yes.
at the Fearless Over 50 Summit
Mm-hmm.
forum.
Forum.
Fearless Over 50 Forum. I have to remember the F's and then I'll get it. Right? The Fearless Over 50 Forum. And I'm so glad that you invited me because it has everything to do with our mindset, right? It has nothing to do with your age, except that that creates the context in which you get to apply the principles,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Talk for a minute about the event that's coming up. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. So the whole idea of it is again, I want to give people the tools so that really no matter your age, but I feel like we just feel this a lot when we hit over 50, to be able to rediscover what your purpose is, embrace your power. I'm really all about giving everyone their power, and then live without regret, which regret, as you know, is my what I really have focused on. So the idea is I've got 9 speakers. It's a live event over 2 days. We'll do live interviews. So we'll have our discussion. And the cool thing is, since it's live, people can tune in and ask questions. Because, it's frustrating sometimes when you go to an event and you're like, I wish I knew X. And you really want to ask the question, but you don't have access to do that. And so this is designed to allow people to ask questions. So that way it's as relevant as possible to the people who are attending.
Yes.
To inspiring them. So they'll get tools. I've got Michelle Villalobos, who is our connector and an amazing woman. I've got John Gray, who's the New York Times bestselling author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Wow.
Very excited to interview him.
You've got an all-star lineup here of people who can really help us understand the principles. And I'm throwing myself in that mix. I mean, I'm honored to be on this microphone and on that stage with you, LeeAnn. And I realize that the models that I've developed through my practice are completely relevant to this question.
100%.
How can we live without fear, and regardless of our age?
Right. Well, and that's the reason I invited you, is because I love your framework, and I feel like you're a beautiful example of having seemingly simplistic tools that are actually very powerful and that instantly give people a framework by which to take their power back and start to live exactly the way they want to live. And so that's why I wanted to have you on.
Well, I am honored to be a part of that. And I'm glad that this podcast is airing at a time that will allow people to jump on board. Now, if you're hearing this after the first week of December, you can still go connect with LeeAnn and all of the amazing things that she's doing, because I'm guessing this is not your last rodeo.
It's not. And you can even still register and you'll get information, and even if it's after the live event. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So I gave the link earlier. I'll give it again now, and then we'll make sure that it's in the notes for the show today. It's Live on Purpose Radio. That's the name of the podcast, folks. And if you're catching us on the live stream on YouTube, we're actually live streaming this today to YouTube. You're like, what? Dr. Paul has a podcast? Yes. It's called Live on Purpose Radio. And you're listening to the podcast and thinking, wait, you've got a YouTube channel? Yes, it's Live on Purpose TV. And there's different content in both. We're airing this today because I wanted to help you promote, LeeAnn, this amazing forum that you've put together with some great speakers and me. And we get to learn how to be fearless over 50. It's the Fearless Over 50 forum. So once again, the link is liveonpurposeradio.com/fearless over 50. All one word.
Love it.
And that will take you right to the registration page. LeeAnn, it's very expensive to attend this, right?
It's going to get out those mortgage papers.
It's actually free. Free. You get to attend at no cost.
Amazing.
And so please take advantage of that. What an amazing opportunity. LeeAnn, thank you for your contributions here today at Live on Purpose Radio. Is there a final thought you want to leave us with before we sign off?
I always like to take the words of Nike and just change a little bit. Instead of just do it, just try it. Just try it. Get out and try things in your life. Just try it.
Just try it.
Yeah.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
That is awesome. Folks, you've heard it from someone who knows what she's talking about, LeeAnn Webster. Remember the Fearless Over 50 forum, and you can go to liveonpurposeradio.com/fearless over 50 to get registered for that. It's absolutely free, and it's life-changing information that's going to make a huge difference. I promise. All right, you've heard it. It's time to